brother Dr. Kito, our PS for the National Treasury, Professor Dongo, our PS, Dr. Kito, the team from the National Treasury, Mr. Mwenda, and also Bwana Anyona and the entire team, all the accounting officers representing various MDAs, and also our development partners. Good morning. I'll try to be very brief because CS will be rushing to the full cabinet later. But first of all, I want to thank the team from the National Treasury because we have been working very closely together in the Parliament and also National Treasury, because both institutions are very pivotal in the budget making process. I also want to thank all the participants of this lounge today, all the accounting officers, majority of whom we interact very closely in the process of budget making, and also everyone else who is here, including the people who disseminate the decisions we make to the public, that is the team from the media. I first of all want to highlight that this process is very critical, the one we are doing for the next 3 days. As you are aware, the budget making process starts quite early. We were here some months back in the launch of whatever we are doing today, and it is important that all the accounting officers note that this process is actually what gives them money. Because most times we see, after we do all this donkey work, then at the tail end, people who could not have been so much involved in the sector working groups, that they want some enhancement in their budgets. So it is important that we take this process very seriously, because there is usually no money anywhere to add anyone. Because the budget, we make it using a threshold of a parameter, and especially deficit to GDP ratio. And therefore coming late in the day to ask for enhancements would only mean that we then take from someone, because usually it is usually zero sum by the time it reaches the tail end. So it's very important that we participate robustly in the allocation of resources around this time. And also it is important that Kenya currently is a very open democracy. Budget making process by itself is a public affair. And that is why members of public are always welcome. I know today here, there could be representatives of farmers, there could be representatives of other sectors of our economy, because it is important. The budget we make does not belong to the people that you see here. It does not belong to the leaders. We make the budget for our country and Kenyans. We benefit a lot from your wisdom as you participate in the public participation. My second point, then I do the last one, is that in many times, it is important to look at the circumstance when we are making the budget. And Professor, I look back when we had such an event, when we came in, and I have seen, I was thinking actually, because we were just from campaigns then, in our first such engagement, I was thinking that was the most intense in terms of how the economy was performing. But then I have seen it keeps on evolving. That time we were dealing with drought. Now we are dealing with prospects of rains that are higher than expected. So it is usually a cycle that we have to keep on managing. But see, as one thing that is very phenomenal that I've seen, and I actually sympathize with your position together with the peers. I think your offices are the ones that work the hardest in this country, because you have to manage so many things. But looking at it in terms of the global macro, you know, you see all the economies of the world are having contractionary. It will affect what you are doing in the budget making process in terms of allocations. When other countries are contractionary, can one economy like Kenya all economies are raising interest rates, for example. That is more contractionary. Then, would Kenya afford then to do the reverse? from the position where I am, I think Kenya being so integral with the global economy, it may not be possible for us to have very different policies from the ones that the entire globe is adopting. Why? Many times we say the interest rate is going up, it is hurting businesses. But then on the other side, if our monetary policy then is the other way around, then you will end up again having capital outflows when you have interest rates that is lower than what is happening across the world. So it is important that when our monetary policy is contractionary, then on the other side our fiscal policy cannot be expansionary. And that is why you see also there is a dent in terms of development expenditure, because raising government expenditure is physically expansionary. So we have to keep on balancing those so that we deliver well at the end of the tunnel. But lastly also, very last, I have to laud the work that we are doing as a country. We have done quite well. We don't need to lament too much because figures don't lie. Kenya, in the first quarter of this year, we grew by 5.3%. In the second quarter, we grew by 5.4% of the GDP. Kenya, if you check across all the over 200 countries of the world, Kenya was the 29th fastest growing economy in the world. I know that has a problem reflecting in the pockets of Kenyans, but that is the reality. Also on the side of inflation, as the other countries deal with the inflation, which is running beyond the target, our inflation is within our benchmark. Our benchmark being around 5% and a band of 2.5% either way. We are now at 6.8%. So even as we see the hardships around our economy, the parameters are not so bad. Kenya is growing, that is the truth, at around 5.4%. In fact, growing faster than China. And growing much faster than my friend from Japan, much faster, in many multiples, by the way. So Kenya is doing well, but we now need to capitalize on transferring this growth to the pockets of Kenyans by having a manner that, or a policy that is more egalitarian, a policy that pushes money to the pockets of Kenyans, because that is where the real economy is. Having said that, also we have to keep on managing that budget making process. The liquidity is also coming up very strongly to be another arm of budget making process. Because we do a lot of budget here, but then it's dependent on how much money we collect through KRA. And I am sure through the figures that I've seen, we'll keep on enhancing our revenue collection so that the budget we make here actually ends up being funded and in good time. Having said that, it's now my pleasure to invite my schoolmate, Professor Ndindi, to come and now open this forum officially. Karibu sana, Prof.